The sky above the small human colony was calm and clear when the warning sirens first rang out. Lavra was making breakfast for her son Ethan. She did not expect anything strange that day. She poured him some juice and smiled as he sat at the table, swinging his legs, waiting for his favorite pancakes. The colony was quiet, surrounded by forests and tall hills. It was a place where people came to live peacefully, far from the troubles of Earth, but the peace was broken quickly. Shadows moved fast across the fields outside the window. Lavra looked up and saw large ships, unlike anything she had ever seen. The ships were smooth, silver, and shaped like giant birds. They landed outside the colony walls, and as soon as they touched the ground, groups of alien warriors marched out. Their armor was shiny and covered in strange symbols. Their eyes were sharp and cold. They moved as one, never speaking a word to each other. The colony guards rushed to their stations, but they were scared. Everyone had heard stories about these warriors. They came from a world called Dryana, and no one had ever beaten them in battle. Some called them the Undefeated. The people of the colony had only old weapons and simple shields. The aliens had bright, humming weapons that could break metal with one shot. Lavra grabbed Ethan's hand and tried to stay calm. She told him to hide under the table, then ran to lock the doors and windows. People outside screamed as the warriors marched closer. Laura's heart pounded in her chest, but she kept her voice soft for Ethan. She told him it would be all right, but even she did not believe it. The first wave of aliens moved through the streets, capturing anyone they found. Their leader, Commander Izara, walked in front. She was taller than the others, with silver skin and purple eyes. She did not look angry. She looked bored, as if this was just another job. When she saw the frightened humans, she raised her hand and her soldiers spread out. They took control of the colony in less than an hour. Lavra heard heavy footsteps outside her door. She tried to hold it closed, but a soldier broke it down easily. The alien grabbed her arm and pushed her aside. Lavra fought, but the alien was too strong. Ethan crawled out from under the table, trying to reach his mother. The alien looked at Ethan and lifted him up. Lavra screamed and begged them to let her son go, but the soldier did not listen. Two more aliens dragged Lavra outside and made her kneel with the other prisoners. The aliens rounded up all the humans, sorting them into groups. They separated the children from the adults. Lavra watched helplessly as Ethan was pulled away, tears running down his cheeks. She called out to him, and he reached for her, but the aliens blocked her path. Then a neighbor sat beside Lavra and tried to comfort her, but his own eyes were full of fear. His daughter Lily was taken too. Commander Izara walked down the line of prisoners. She spoke in perfect English, her voice cold and flat. She told the humans that they were now under Dryana control. If anyone tried to run, they would be punished. She did not shout or threaten, she simply gave orders and her soldiers obeyed. Lavra looked at the other mothers. Some were crying. Some stared at the ground. A few tried to fight, but the aliens stopped them quickly. Laura's hands shook, but she tried to remember Ethan's face. She promised herself she would find him. She would not let fear stop her. The aliens put the children into a large transport ship. The doors closed and Lavra heard Ethan call out for her. She tried to run to him, but an alien soldier blocked her way and pushed her back. She fell to the ground and watched helplessly as the ship took off, flying toward the alien camp in the hills. Her heart broke, but her spirit did not. The adults were marched into a fenced area in the middle of the colony. Lavra sat in the dirt and hugged her knees. She kept replaying the last moment she saw Ethan's face. Ben sat next to her, quiet and pale. The sun set behind the hills, but Lavra did not notice. All she could think about was her son. At night, when the guards grew tired, Lavra whispered to Ben. She asked if he had seen where they took the children. Ben nodded. He told her he saw the transport ship heading north. Ben said he would help her if she wanted to search for Ethan. And Lily, Lavra thanked him, holding back tears. She was grateful she was not alone. Lavra did not sleep. She listened to the sounds of the aliens talking in their strange language. She watched the guards, memorizing how often they walked by. She noticed one guard was always slow, always stopping to drink from his water bottle. Lavra paid attention to every detail, hoping to find a weakness. She remembered stories her father told her about survival and courage. She tried to stay strong for Ethan. As the moon rose high above the colony, Lavra made a promise to herself. She would not wait for someone else to save her son. She would find Ethan, no matter how hard it was. The aliens might be undefeated in battle, but they had never faced a mother who refused to give up. In her heart, Lavra felt a new kind of strength. She would keep moving forward, one step at a time, until she could hold Ethan in her arms again. The night was dark, but Lavra was ready. Her journey was just beginning. Lavra waited until the sky turned gray and the first light of morning came. She did not sleep at all. She kept thinking about Ethan, about his small hands and his scared eyes. She remembered his voice calling her as the ship doors closed. The pain was strong, but Lavra would not let it stop her. She knew she had to do something. The guards were not watching the prisoners closely. They thought humans could not escape. Lavra noticed that one guard always looked tired and bored. He was not paying attention when he walked around the fence. Lavra watched him for hours, learning his habits. When the guard was far away, Lavra whispered to Ben. She told him that now was the time. Ben nodded. He looked afraid, but he trusted Lavra. He wanted to find his daughter Lily as much as Lavra wanted to find Ethan. The fence was made of metal, but it had weak points near the ground. Lavra and Ben crawled to the edge of the group, trying not to make noise. Lavra used a small rock to bend one of the wires. Her hands hurt, but she kept working. Finally, there was a small hole, just big enough for them to squeeze through. Lavra looked back at the other prisoners, but no one else moved. They were too scared or too tired. Lavra wanted to help them all, but she had to find her son first. Outside the fence, the ground was cold and wet. Lavra and Ben moved quickly, staying low. They heard the sounds of the aliens in the distance, but no one saw them. The aliens were busy counting supplies and talking in their strange language. Lavra and Ben stayed close to the shadows. They ran across the field and into the forest. The trees were tall and thick, and the ground was covered in soft moss. It felt good to be away from the aliens, even if only for a little while. In the forest, Lavra stopped to catch her breath. She tried to listen for any sign of the alien camp. Ben pulled out a small map from his pocket. He drew a circle where they were, then pointed north. He said he saw the transport ship fly in that direction. Lavra thanked him. They both knew it was dangerous, but they had to keep going. They followed a narrow path through the trees. Lavra thought about her son with every step. She hoped he was safe. She hoped he was not alone. As they walked, they found signs of the aliens. There were strange marks on the trees and pieces of silver metal on the ground. Lavra picked up a small piece. It felt warm, almost alive. She guessed it was from the alien technology. Ben said he saw more pieces farther ahead, so they followed the trail. The sun started to rise, shining through the branches. The air smelled fresh, but Laura's heart was heavy. She worried about Ethan, but she pushed the worry aside. She needed to be strong. Suddenly, Lavra and Ben heard voices. They hid behind a large rock and listened. 2 aliens were walking by, speaking softly in their own language. Lavra did not understand the words, but she could see that they were not like the other warriors. They looked younger, and they were not wearing full armor. They were carrying food and water to the camp. Lavra whispered to Ben that this was their chance. When the aliens walked away, Lavra and Ben followed at a distance. They moved quietly, careful not to step on any dry branches. Soon they saw the alien camp. It was much bigger than Lavra expected. There were tall tents made of strange fabric, shining in the sun. There were guards at every entrance, but some parts of the fence looked weak. Lavra watched the guards and saw that they switched places every hour. She memorized their routine. Ben found a good spot where they could see inside the camp without being seen. Lavra crawled to the edge of the bush and peeked through. Inside the camp, she saw groups of human children sitting on the ground. They looked tired and scared, but they were together. Lavra searched for Ethan's face. When she saw him, her heart jumped. He was sitting next to Lily, Ben's daughter. They were talking quietly, trying to comfort each other. Lavra felt tears in her eyes, but she did not cry. She was too focused. She watched the children for a long time, making sure Ethan was not hurt. Lavra and Ben spent the whole day watching the camp. They learned where the guards walked, where the children slept, and where the food was kept. Lavra counted how many aliens there were. She noticed that not all the aliens were strict. Some of them looked at the children with soft eyes, almost like they felt sorry for them. Lavra wondered if these aliens would help her if she asked. As night fell, Lavra and Ben made a plan. They would wait until the guards changed shifts, then sneak into the camp. Lavra remembered how quiet Ethan could be when he wanted to surprise her at home. She hoped he would remember to stay brave and calm. Ben was nervous, but Lavra reminded him that they had to do this for their children. When the stars filled the sky, Lavra and Ben moved closer to the camp fence. They used a stick to push aside the loose wires. It was slow and careful work. They crawled inside and stayed close to the tents. The ground was soft and every sound seemed loud in the quiet night. Lavra led the way, moving from shadow to shadow. She saw a guard nearby and froze. The guard stopped and looked around but did not see them. Lavra held her breath until the guard walked away. Finally, they reached the area where the children were sleeping. Lavra saw Ethan lying on a thin mat, holding Lily's hand. She wanted to call out to him, but she knew it was not safe yet. Lavra and Ben stayed hidden, waiting for the right moment. Lavra watched her son sleep, her heart full of love and worry. She made a promise to herself again that she would not leave the camp without Ethan, no matter what happened. She would do whatever it took to save him. Lavra believed that if she stayed brave, she could find a way to bring him home. The night was quiet and the camp was still. Laura's journey was far from over, but she was closer to her son than ever before. Lavra and Ben stayed close to the children's tents, watching the camp carefully. The night was cold, but Lavra did not feel it. She focused on her son Ethan, hoping he was safe. The children sat quietly, but some looked scared. Laura's heart ached when she saw Ethan hug Lily, trying to comfort her. Ben whispered that the guards would change soon. He pointed to the watchtower where one alien soldier stood. Lavra noticed that the guard always looked bored and checked his weapon slowly. She thought this was their best chance to move. They had to be very careful. If the guards saw them, it would be impossible to escape. Lavra took a deep breath and moved forward, Ben close behind. They crawled through the dirt, hiding behind rocks and tents. Laura's eyes searched every corner. She wanted to find a safe place to hide the children. She saw some aliens carrying food and water. The aliens looked strong and serious. They did not notice Lavra and Ben. Suddenly, a small noise made Lavra freeze. A twig snapped under her hand. One guard turned quickly and looked in their direction. Lavra held her breath, hoping he would not see them. The guard glanced once, then went back to his post. Lavra felt her heart beating fast. She moved faster now. Inside the camp, Lavra saw a small group of aliens talking near a fire. They were younger and looked less fierce than the warriors she had seen before. One of them looked at the children with soft eyes. Lavra thought maybe these aliens were kind. Maybe they would help if she asked? Ben whispered that some guards were talking about the humans. He said the aliens did not understand why the children were so brave. The aliens thought humans were weak, but the children did not act scared. Lavra smiled quietly. She knew humans were stronger than the aliens thought. Lavra looked around for a place where the children could hide. She saw a storage tent with supplies. The entrance was small, but it might work. She motioned to Ben. He nodded. They needed to get the children out of the open soon. Lavra crawled closer to Ethan. He was awake now, looking around nervously. She whispered his name softly. Ethan's eyes grew wide when he saw her. He tried to get up, but Lavra shook her head. She told him to stay calm. She reached out her hand to him. One by one, the children followed Lavra and Ben toward the storage tent. Some of them were scared, but Laura's calm voice helped them. Ethan held her hand tightly. Lavra told them they would be safe soon. The children moved quickly, but quietly. Just then, a loud alarm rang through the camp. Laura's heart sank. The guards had found something. She grabbed Ethan and pulled him toward the tent. The children ran after her. Lavra felt a heavy hand grab her arm. She turned and saw Commander Izara. Izara's eyes were sharp and cold. She asked Lavra why she was taking the children. Lavra did not answer. She stood tall, not showing fear. She told Izara that children belong with their families, not locked in cages. Izara frowned but did not strike. Instead, she called for her soldiers. More aliens came running. Lavra knew she had to act fast. She whispered to Ethan to stay close. Ben helped the other children inside the tent. Lavra pushed the flap closed behind them. The tent was dark but safe. Outside, the aliens gathered, blocking any way out. Izara spoke to Lavra again. She said humans were weak and would never win. Lavra looked at Izara and said humans never give up. She said a mother's love was stronger than any weapon. Some aliens looked unsure. Lavra saw them glance at each other. She realized not all of them agreed with Izara. Maybe there was hope. Suddenly, one alien stepped forward. He said he did not want to fight anymore. He wanted peace. Laura's heart lifted. She knew this could be the start of change. The alien guards lowered their weapons. Izara's face turned red with anger, but she said nothing. Lavra took Ethan's hand and looked at the other children. She promised them she would protect them. The night grew quiet again. Lavra felt hope for the first time since the attack. She knew the fight was not over, but she also knew she was not alone. Together with Ben, the children, and some aliens who wanted peace, she would find a way to bring them all home safely. Lavra stood inside the dark tent, holding Ethan's small hand tightly. The other children sat close, their eyes wide with fear but also hope. Lavra looked at each of them and promised to keep them safe. She knew the aliens outside were strong, but she believed in the power of courage and love. Ben moved near the tent's entrance, watching for any sign of danger. He whispered to Lavra that some of the aliens seemed unsure. They were not like Commander Izara, who was cold and strict. These aliens looked confused, as if they wanted to understand the humans better. Lavra thought this was their chance to show the aliens who humans really were. Outside, the night was quiet. The stars shone brightly above the camp. Lavra could hear the soft voices of the children whispering to each other. Ethan sat on her lap, resting his head against her chest. Lavra stroked his hair gently, feeling his warmth. She promised herself she would never let him go. Suddenly the tent flap opened. An alien stepped inside. He was one of the younger soldiers Lavra had seen before. His eyes were soft, and he did not carry a weapon. He spoke in English, his voice calm. He said his name was Kale. He told Lavra he did not agree with the way Commander Izara treated the humans. Kale said he wanted to help them escape. Lavra looked at Kale, surprised but hopeful. She asked him why he wanted to help. Kale said he had seen the children and felt their pain. He said the aliens had much to learn from humans. Lavra nodded. She said humans never give up, even when things are hard. Kale smiled slightly. He said maybe the aliens could learn to be kinder. Kale stayed with them in the tent, guarding the children. Lavra felt safer with him there. She talked to Ethan and the other children, telling them stories about Earth. She told them about trees, rivers, and blue skies. The children listened quietly, imagining a better place. The next day, Lavra and Kale planned their escape. Kale knew the camp well. He showed Lavra where the guards changed shifts and where the weak spots in the fence were. Lavra wrote down the plan, making sure everyone knew what to do. She told the children to be brave and quiet. They would leave when the sun was low. Before the stars came out, as the sun began to set, Lavra helped the children prepare. They gathered what little food they had and tied their clothes tightly. Ethan held Laura's hand and smiled. Lavra smiled back, feeling hope grow inside her. Kale led them through the camp quietly. They moved from shadow to shadow, avoiding the guards. Lavra kept Ethan close, whispering words of comfort. The children followed Ben, who was also helping guide them. The plan was working. Suddenly a guard appeared ahead. Kale stepped forward and spoke to the guard in their language. The guard hesitated, then nodded and moved away. Kale explained that they had permission to leave for a short time. Lavra felt a mix of fear and relief. They had to be careful. They reached the fence where the weak spot was. Lavra used a small tool Kale had given her to cut the wires. The children crawled through one by one. Lavra went last, making sure everyone was safe. Once outside the fence, they ran into the forest, the cold air filling their lungs. The children laughed softly, happy to be free. Lavra held Ethan close, tears in her eyes. She knew the journey was not over, but they had taken the first step. Kale stayed with them, promising to help all he could as they moved deeper into the forest. Lavra looked back at the camp. The lights were small and distant. She knew Commander Izara would be angry, but she did not care. Laura's heart was full of love and hope. She would protect her son and the other children no matter what. The night was dark, but Laura's spirit shone bright. The undefeated alien warriors had met a new kind of strength, one that came from a mother's love and a human's will to survive. Together they would face the future, ready for whatever came next. Lavra and the children moved quickly through the forest, their steps soft against the moss and fallen leaves. Ethan held her hand tightly, his small fingers wrapped around hers. Lavra looked back once, seeing the distant lights of the alien camp fading behind the trees. She knew they were far from safe, but she felt a strong hope inside her. They were free. Kale walked beside them, guiding the way. He knew the forest well and warned them of hidden rocks and deep holes. The children stayed close, whispering quietly. Some were tired, but their eyes shone with new life. Laura's heart swelled with pride. She had kept her promise to Ethan and the others. As they walked deeper into the forest, Lavra thought about the aliens left behind. Commander Izara would be angry, but Lavra hoped that some aliens, like Kale, would change. She believed that kindness could grow even in a harsh place. The humans had shown strength and courage, and maybe the aliens could learn from them. Suddenly, the forest opened into a small clearing. Lavra stopped and looked around. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows. Kale told them to rest here for a moment. The children sat on the soft grass, eating small pieces of food Lavra had packed. Ethan leaned against her, tired but happy. While the children rested, Lavra talked to Kale. She asked him why some aliens were kind while others were cruel. Kale said that his world was very different from Earth. His people had lived in war for many years and forgot how to be gentle. Lavra listened carefully and said that peace could start with small acts of love. Kale nodded slowly, understanding. After the rest, Lavra led the group through a narrow path that Kale said would take them to a safe place. They walked quietly, careful not to make noise. Suddenly they heard voices behind them. Laura's heart raced. She told the children to hide behind trees and bush. Through the trees came a group of aliens led by Commander Izara. She looked angry and determined. Lavra stepped out and faced her. Izara said that humans were weak and would never survive on their own. Lavra smiled and said that humans were strong because they never gave up. She said a mother's love was stronger than any weapon. Izara sneered and ordered her soldiers to capture Lavra and the children, but then Kale stepped forward. He said he would not let the children be taken again. Some of the younger aliens looked unsure. They had seen the humans' courage and felt doubt about Izara's orders. A fight started. Lavra held Ethan close as the aliens clashed around them. She was scared but kept calm. Ben helped protect the children, using simple moves he remembered from training. Kale fought with skill, blocking attacks and helping the children escape. The battle was quick but fierce. Some aliens ran away, not wanting to fight anymore. Izara realized she was losing control. She called out to her soldiers to stop. Lavra saw the anger and frustration in Izara's eyes, but also a hint of fear. After the fight, Lavra spoke to the aliens who stayed. She told them that humans wanted peace and friendship. She said that if they stopped fighting, they could learn from each other. The aliens listened, their faces softening. Kale said he wanted to help build a better future. He asked Lavra to teach the aliens about Earth and its people. Lavra agreed, knowing that this was just the beginning. She wanted her son to grow up in a world where humans and aliens could live together in peace. As the sun set, Lavara gathered the children close. She looked at Ethan and whispered that they were safe. Now? The journey had been hard, but their courage had won. Lavara smiled, knowing that love had changed everything. Together they walked toward the future, ready to face whatever came next. The undefeated alien warriors had met their match not in battle, but in the heart of a human mother. Lavara stood in the soft light of dawn, watching the children sleep peacefully around her. Ethan was beside her, his small hand in hers, breathing steady and calm. After days of fear and running, they were safe for now. Lavara knew the journey was not over, but she felt hope growing in her heart. The forest around them was quiet, alive with the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves. Kale sat nearby, sharpening a small knife. He looked tired but calm. Lavara had come to trust him. He was no longer just an alien soldier. He was a friend who wanted peace. The day before, after the fight with Commander Izara's soldiers, many aliens had left the camp. Some stayed behind, confused and unsure. Lavara spoke to them about Earth, about families and kindness. She told them that humans and aliens could live together if they tried. Some aliens listened, and that gave Lavara hope. Ben helped watch the children while Lavara and Kale made a plan. They could not stay in the forest forever. They needed to find a safe place to live, where the children could grow up free. Kale knew of a hidden valley, far from the alien camp, where no one would find them. Lavara packed what little food they had. The children helped carry their small bags, excited to move forward. Ethan held Laura's hand and smiled. Lavara smiled back, feeling the warmth of his trust. She promised herself that she would keep him safe, no matter what. As they walked toward the valley, Lavara thought about the future. She imagined a world where humans and aliens worked together. She dreamed of a place where children of both worlds could play and learn side by side. It seemed far away, but Lavara believed it was possible. On the way, Kale told stories of his people's past. He said his world had been full of war for a long time, but now some wanted to change. Lavara listened and told them about Earth's history, the battles humans had fought and the peace they had built. They shared hopes for a better future. The path to the valley was hard. They climbed steep hills and crossed cold streams. The children were tired but brave. Lavara encouraged them with kind words and stories. Ethan walked beside her, holding her hand tightly. Lavara felt proud of his strength. When they reached the valley, Lavara gasped. It was beautiful. The valley was full of green grass, colorful flowers, and clear streams. Birds sang in the trees and the sun warmed their faces. It was a safe place, hidden by tall hills and thick forests. Lavara smiled and told the children they were home. They played and ran, laughing for the first time in many days. Ethan found a small flower and gave it to Lavara. She held it close. Feeling the joy of the moment, Kale helped build shelters using wood and leaves. Ben collected food and water. Lavara taught the children how to find safe plants and make small fires. They worked together, building a new life in the valley. Days passed and word spread. Some aliens who wanted peace came to join them. They brought supplies and stories of change. Lavara welcomed them all, hoping this new community would grow. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Lavara sat with Ethan and Kale. She looked at the stars and thought about the journey. They had faced fear and danger, but love and courage had guided them. Lavara believed that as long as they stayed together, they could face anything. Ethan smiled and hugged Lavara. She held him close, whispering that she loved him. The stars shone above, lighting the way to a future full of hope. The undefeated alien warriors had met their match not in battle, but in the heart of a human mother who would never give up. Laura's love had changed the fate of many, and a new chapter was beginning for humans and aliens alike.